the live on YouTube only.
Okay.
And then you can share that video file, or the podcast I'll probably go live with this Monday. So then you can share that out too.
Okay. I increase my volume a little bit. It's going live now, right?
Okay, so we are officially live. Welcome to the No Purpose Without Love podcast. I have with me today Miss Sara M., who, thank you so much for joining us, Sara. I'm your host, also Dave Garesso. Sara, why don't you actually let me go ahead and just do a short bio about you for our audience so they know who you are. So Sara grew up in Cambodia, where she overcame 4 years of captivity and mass genocide that claimed 2 million lives. Through her own resilience and God's help, she escaped, fled to America, graduated college, and wrote an award-winning book called How I Survived the Killing Fields. And now she inspires others to have hope, courage, and a positive perspective in life. Her impactful message has been heard at corporate events, conferences, churches, schools, TV, podcasts, radio, and more. She is a founder and director of Christian Professionals Network of Tampa Bay and owner of Smart Healthy Living, which is a wellness business. In her spare time, she enjoys participating as a member of Women Speakers Association, Toastmasters International, and Better Living for Seniors. Sara resides in Florida, where she will soon celebrate her 34 years of marriage with her husband. And that is amazing. So thank you once again for joining us, Sara, and all these amazing things that you did. Tell us a little bit more about that. Like, tell us who you are beyond what I just read to the audience.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, David. It's wonderful. I appreciate you. A little bit about me. Yes, I grew up in Cambodia, and unfortunately, I got caught in the war time when the communists took over our country. When they took all of us captive as the prisoner of war, they punished us so bad that about 2 million people died. And I am struggling through that system for 4 years. But I have to say that only God's grace that have helped me to survive. I'm here today because of God's mercy. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't make it. But with that in mind, I'm forever ever grateful. Grateful for the people that receive me when I arrived in United States, and they helped me get started and build my new life, get started on my new journey in this beautiful country. And now I am at the point that I want to use my story to inspire other people that, you know, my story is not just to impress anybody. It's to give people hope. I share this to give people hope that
Yeah.
if I can make it through this difficulty, anybody can can get through your challenging time.
Yeah.
So that's all I want to say right now.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know personally, Sara, that not a lot of people find purpose in pain, and that's one thing that your story has always stood out to me, or stood out about it to me, is that you have taken something that's it's traumatic, to be just blunt about it. It's a traumatic experience. Anybody having to go through something like that in life and then overcome it and then turn around and turn it into something positive, that in itself is just, it's a miracle. So it's awesome that, and I'm grateful that you take the time to go throughout the world and share this message with others, because people need it. And I know a lot of times pain is relative to whoever's going through it, depending on what the experience is. But either way, one thing we know is that encouragement and hope is something that's required on a daily basis. So my next question to you is this: is what, when you're going through that experience, there was this transition period at some point where you had to deal with some of the trauma, the difficult part of it. But what happened in there that got you to say, you know what, I want to turn this into something positive? Like, what happened there? How were you able to overcome that obstacle and that trauma that you went through?
Oh, it's two different time frame.
Mhm.
While I was in that trauma, in in the dark time, in the storm, let's say that. While I'm in the storm, all I thought about is my family. Oh, where are they? We were separated, completely separate, and we have no connection between each other, and we have no idea what happened to each other. So my mind was always, always with them. What happened to them? And I want to survive because I want to find them. I want to lift them up when they know that I'm still alive. And I want to be back, be able to help out whatever they need. So that's my purpose. So during a hard time, if we have a purpose in life, we will get through it because that purpose drive us forward, help us not to give up, to hang in there. It even though it's very hard, it's almost impossible. But when we have the faith and believe that God is with us, help us to get through whatever we are going through, we will make it.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's one thing I'm realizing personally, Sarah, in recent days is that, when I was young, I was always climbing something. I was always trying to achieve something or go after some accomplishment. But I find that the older I get, the more that the people that I love are the most important thing in my life. And it also makes it hard because, as a full-time traveler moving around, it's always a little hard to say goodbye. And the more I develop those relationships with people, the harder it is to move. But at the same time, it gives us that meaning and that purpose. Like you're saying, it's the very reason that you were able to move forward, because you were thinking of those that you love as a reason why you must move forward and come out of it.
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah, that's powerful. Um, so you had said a lot about your faith too, and I wanted you to talk a little bit more about that. What role did your relationship with Jesus play in all of this, right? Like what could you tell us about that part of it?
Well, back then, when I was young, I did not know Jesus, but I know the biggest God of the universe, the the God that created everything. So I know that there is God. So when I exhaust all the option, anything that I can do myself, I reach out to that God, and I believe that He can hear me. He have mercy on me. So I pray to that God, and I trust that He will hear me. He will answer my prayer, and I'm sure during my journey, He answered a few times that I remember specifically, and I know it had to be God because nobody come up with that solution. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And so did you ever feel that it was hard to hear from him? Because I know some people, they struggle, right? They're going through a hard time and they feel like God's not answering, God's not talking to them. They feel like alone and lost. Did you ever feel like you had a time like that?
I don't remember I have that thought.
Hmm.
Let me give you one quick example. I never hear God say to me, God speak to me. But through his guidance, through his action, he lead me from one place to another. Like when I was in the forced labor camp, they forced us to work extremely hard in the rice field in the intense heat, and we receive only very little food to eat and very little time to sleep. So we become sick. I became very sick. When I got several disease piling up in my little body, I become too sick to go to work. So they send the sick people like that to go to the infirmary. When I got to the infirmary, I realized, oh my goodness, this is not a good place for me to stay because a lot of people are very, very sick and they got more disease than I do. So I will get more disease. So I need to find out how to get out from this situation. If I stay in the workplace, I cannot work. Now they send me to this infirmary. I cannot stay because I'm going to die. So I want to escape. I want to run away. But where can I go? If I run away, they will find me, they will shoot me on the spot. So this is when I reach out to God and I wait until nighttime and I pray. I ask, God, please, God, please help me. I want to live. I don't want to die. Please help me to get out of this situation. So I pray every night. And then one morning, when I woke up very early before everybody else, I have an idea. Okay, I have a little bit energy today. So I'm going to sneak out. Sneak out. Where will I go? I went back to the workplace. No, I took a risk. Nobody care about the sick people. So the God are not paying too much attention. So I didn't get caught. I got to the workplace and I met one kind team leader. She was so kind to me and she wanted to help me. And she found out that I'm too sick to do anything with her, with any other group. So she went to the the kitchen where they prepared the food to feed this 1,000 people in the camp. And and she talked to the kitchen people, say, can you use her to help out in the kitchen? They say, yes, we'll use her. So I got the job in the kitchen. That God answer to my prayer. Nobody had this privilege. It's the privilege to work in the kitchen instead of work in the rice field in the sun, 16 hours a day. So God answered my prayer in the most amazingly. Through that one prayer answer, I survived. I survived because work in the kitchen, I got food, I got some rest. I did not have to work in the heat. So gradually I feel better. So that's my first experience with God answer prayer.
That's something. And you healed, like everything you were sick with, completely healed on top of it.
Yeah, it's not 100%, but at least I'm not as sick as before. So I
Yeah.
gain weight, I gain more energy and all that. So
Wow. That's amazing. He really does hear. It reminds me just with Israel coming out of Egypt. They cried out in the same way and he set them free.
mhm,
And it's like you have a similar story.
yeah, yeah. So in my case, God did not tell me anything. He did it. He worked out the detail in the background.
Mhm. I feel like too, there's a lesson there for all of us. Like if we're in a situation and it feels like there's no way out, there is a way. It's always just turn around and ask God, and he will make a way when there is no way. I mean, these
Yes,
examples are what tell us that.
right. Right.
Wow, that's incredible. And so how did you end up coming then to the US? How did you end up in Florida?
Well, after enduring 4 years in the camp, well,
Mhm.
working in the kitchen, it lasts only several months. When I feel better, get better, they pull me out from the kitchen, throw me back in the rice field, and work 16 hours a day in the heat for 4 years. After 4 years, the camp got moved. There's something coming, and the leader of the camp knows something coming after them, so they push us to closer to the jungle. We keep moving into the jungle. When I realized that we are moving to the jungle, I say, oh no, no, I am not keeping up with this. I cannot keep staying with them anymore. I need to go find my family. So God gave me the courage. Give me the courage to think about escape. You see how dangerous that is to escape from the captivity? But when you realize that you do or you die, you, you escape or you just stay trapped in captivity. There's no way out. So I rather die than staying in the situation like that. So I risked my life and I gathered 3 good friends to escape with me, and we did. Well, it's a long journey, but we pull it off. We made it out, and we get out from captivity. We have to get out first.
Mhm.
We cannot do much when we are in prison.
No.
No. So once I got out and I found my way to find my family, it's a long journey, but eventually, to make it short, I found my family. We
That's
reunited with
awesome.
my family,
Wow.
and then my family nurtured me to good health again. My
Mhm.
my health declined back in the very bad way. So I lost so much weight. I look like a 95 years old woman and all that, but I recovered.
Mhm.
And my mom realized that we still live in the dangerous zone. We need to do something. So she have an idea that we need to escape.
Mhm.
But my mom was sick and she could not do it. So the whole family had to stay with her and took care of her. But I'm the only one who qualified for the family. So my mom pushed me to go out to escape from Cambodia. At that time, there was no airplane, there was no embassy to get visa or anything. The country was a complete chaos. There was no structure, nothing. So if we want to get out, we had to run away. We had to escape the hard way. So my mom arranged the trip with one of her cousins. So between me and her cousin, we went to the Thai border and we crossed the border. We walked across the
Wow.
border, crossed the landmine. There was a lot of landmine.
Mhm.
But this is another place where God already interfered. God interfered during my escape the big time that I we did not get lost. If God was now part of the escape, we would have get lost. We would never get out of the jungle. But we arrived to find my family 4 months after the whole country was liberated. They had been liberated 4 months earlier, but we were still in captivity. So God hold us back 4 months. So by the time I crossed the border, all those landmines, most of those landmine thing was already exploded.
Wow.
So I was safe. It's not safe, but at least
A
I
lot
did know
safer.
a lot safer
Yeah.
than it would have been if I get out earlier than that.
Mhm.
So that when I look back, I say, unbelievable, unbelievable how God
Mhm.
could have planned this
Yeah.
more perfect than we ever thought possible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because he knew you from the beginning, Sarah.
yeah,
He,
yeah.
he knew that moment and he had it already planned for you.
So God already know that
Mhm.
I need to go that way, but
Mhm.
I should not go earlier than that. Otherwise, I will
Mhm.
step on that landmine.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow. Incredible. That speaks to the sovereignty of God, just having everything already planned out. It's absolutely incredible. And I feel like we need to tell these stories more often because I feel like God's doing things like this in the world every day. We just don't hear about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Especially in the United States, we hear a lot of news from within the country, but what about what's happening outside the country? And what
yeah,
miracles are people experiencing every day that we don't hear about?
yeah. And my story is not an exception, but I didn't realize that until I start telling my story, until I write my book, and then think back of all the things that could happen. And I try to forget about everything. I try to push down now to remember everything. But God did not want us to forget what He have done for us. So
Yeah. And so this kind of leads to another question then, Sarah. What what do our listeners need to know when it comes to sharing their story? Because it sounds to me like the story is where the power and the glory that goes towards God comes from. So what would you say to our listeners right now who are maybe struggling with a dark past?
if you are struggling with the dark past, observe what was happening. Remember what was happening, and look for some goodness in your past. There must be something good about it, even though it's dark, but there must be something good about it. And you celebrate that, you appreciate, and you be grateful. You have to learn to to be grateful of everything that we have. Although my life was such a big mess and a chaotic and traumatic, but there's some glimpse of goodness in my journey, in my past, that I still celebrate today. So look for something grateful that you are grateful for. So blessing is everywhere, but we have to look for it and remember.
Yeah. Wow. So gratitude, right? It's one that keeps coming up too often for me is
Yeah,
gratitude is
gratitude. Mhm.
it brings peace.
Yeah, when we celebrate the gratitude, we recognize the goodness of God, and you
Yeah.
feel amazing to
Mhm.
know that God loves us. God loves us,
Yeah.
that we are not forgotten.
No, never.
Right.
All right. Well, so let's fast forward now. We'll shift a little. You're in Tampa right now, right? Tampa, Florida. And
Tampa
so,
Bay, Tampa Bay.
yep, Sarah, and that's one of my favorite places in the country personally. So I love Tampa. But tell you're involved like in a bunch of things in the community there. And there's a lot of ways that I know that you're using your gifting and the resources that you have to give back. And so tell us a little bit about what you're doing there in the local community and even what you do in your spare time.
Mhm. Yeah, I like to get involved in the community, and I enjoy networking because networking is where we build a relationship with people. We are now made to be a loner. We
No.
will be depressed and sad, and it's just not good to be alone. So I love networking. I'm not an extrovert. I'm an introvert, but I still recognize that relationship building is wonderful. So I start out many years ago, 11, 12 years ago. I started a networking group. It's called Christian Professionals Network. I start that group, and we still have that group until today. And in fact, that's where we met. That Dave.
Yes.
Thank you for coming to the meeting.
Thank you, Sarah. I love
And
that group. I love it. It's one of my favorite groups.
so that's one of the group that I start, and I have another group, International Women. So I gather all the people that come from another country, and I feel like, oh, they need to support, they need to get to know each other. So international group in Tampa Bay. So we have a group to support each other. And another group that I created is called a Smart Healthy Lifestyle Group. Um, it's a group where I teach, where I gather some health and wellness practitioner and teach people how to live a healthy lifestyle. So that's another group. And
Excellent. Do you want to share like how could if folks wanted to join any of those spaces that you serve, how would they reach you and how would they get access to that?
well, the best thing is to find me on my website. Just go to my website. You will find most of that activity on the event page. Go to saraim.com. Yes, SARAIM.com/events. Events. You will see different events that we list there.
Excellent. And just for those of you who might be listening or watching, I'm going to make sure that all of Sarah's links are in the description of this podcast episode. So if you're interested in reaching out to her and getting connected, that's the place to do it. All of her links will be there. So you're also an author, right? So tell us about your experience as an author and a little bit more about your book.
Yeah, the being an author, I never dream of. I never thought I could ever be one. Come on. I came to United States. I arrived at 27, at age 27, and to learn to speak since then and to come up with a book, it's overwhelming, it's intimidating. But I have friends, I have good friends who support me. So I wrote one chapter at a time and I sent to her. How does it sound? Anyway, but anyway, before I start writing the book, I realized my story can help a lot of people. Um, I was invited to speak at the woman luncheon, and I found out that one woman in the audience lost her child to suicide, and that surprised me, and that perked me up, and realized that I probably can use my story to encourage people, to give people hope, so that no mother ever be depressed or sad by losing their own child. So that's how the idea start. And there are many more reasons why I wrote the book. And so this is the book, How I Survived the Killing Fields. It's a story of hope, love, and determination. Yes, it is a story of hope and love and determination. And I use my book as the base of promotion of give as a tool to encourage people, to give people hope. And since I published my book, I got invited to speak. That how my speaking career, I would say career, was born. But as you can tell, I'm now in a national, a nation. I'm not born with English, right? So I'm still learn. I still need to improve my speaking ability. But I feel like if people need to hear, the message is good enough. The message is more important than the perfection that some people are looking for. For people that are looking for the perfection, you may not find it in my service. But if you're looking for the meaning, for the message, for the inspiration, I can help.
What is the primary message that you want others to know about?
The primary message is that there are many, but the first one is love. You do everything beginning with love. I survived the killing field because of my love for my family. Next is the faith. You have to believe whatever you are pursuing. You believe that you will make it. And the hope is pretty close to that. You have to have hope. If
Mm.
if you don't have hope, nothing happens. That nothing happens without hope.
Mm.
And also, I believe in resiliency.
Mm.
A lot of people told me that my survival show that I have resilience.
Mhm.
Yes, when
Mm.
I look back, that is true. So now I'm teaching people how to build resilience in
Mm.
their life. When you are resilient, you don't fear for problem coming your way because you are resilient. You can
Mm.
overcome that. You can overcome any any obstacle that come your way.
Mhm.
You are confident. My latest presentation, um, I I like to speak is called unshakable confidence. When you are resilient, you become unshakable confident.
Mhm.
And when you are confident, you will overcome stress, you will thrive, and it's just so many benefits by building resilience for your life.
Yeah. I feel like I'm still developing that resilience, Sarah, but I also feel that when we go through struggles incrementally throughout life and we overcome, as we overcome, we're building that resilience.
Yes,
And that's part of the process, isn't it?
yes, yes. So there is a, a phrase that the resilient people would say, my past success have given me confidence for new challenge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Amazing. Past success have given me new resilience for my new challenges.
yeah, have
Yeah.
given me confidence.
Confidence in my new challenges.
Yeah,
That's great. Yes, indeed, they have too. I experienced that firsthand in my own life.
yeah. Keep building that resilience. Keep
Mhm.
accumulating the small success one at a time. Each
Mhm.
success will build you up every
Yeah.
time.
You know what else is cool? I hear you talking about faith, hope, and love, and I can't help but to think the very word of God says that it is those three things that will last forever. And the greatest of them is love, which is what you led with. And it's the very reason that this podcast exists. No purpose without love. That is the very title of the podcast. And you
Perfect,
exemplify that. It's amazing.
perfect title. Yeah.
your story is absolutely inspiring, Sara. So one thing I want to get into too is that you have been married for 34 years, and like we talked about before we started this episode, congratulations, because that is no accomplishment. Or you're coming up on 34, I think it is. But that is super awesome, and in a time where not a lot of marriages make it. Sara, what wisdom do you have to share with the listeners about what it takes to have a healthy, strong marriage going forward?
Well, every couple have their own challenge. I do have my own challenge as well, but I realize that I have to stop expecting perfection. When I start out as a young married couple, I expect perfection. That gave me into a lot of trouble. I was not happy because my expectation was too high. So you have to realize that nobody is perfect. Nobody, even ourselves, even myself is not perfect. So we have to learn to forgive and accept the person as it is. So I accept that my husband is not perfect, and and I have to recognize that, and I have to forgive him for the the mistake that he have done, and accept him and love him anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's true. It's why we all need grace. It's why we all need love, because we all have a certain level of brokenness, of things that we've been through that affects who we are. And you're right. Like if we expect perfection, it'll never happen, will it?
no,
So
no. So
that's
that's,
great.
yeah, that's my foundation. So
Yeah.
forgiveness, and don't expect perfection.
Yeah. I hear you. Celebrating 20 years myself, absolutely 100% agree. But we continue to grow and continue to learn. And you're right, the marriage isn't perfect, but with that grace, that forgiveness, not expecting anything beyond, just loving them, no perfection. Yes, things tend to get better when I focus in that direction. Whereas when I'm demanding or I'm frustrated, I want this, I want that ends up going in a downturn. And I've experienced those times too, to my own detriment. All right. So as we begin to wrap up, a couple more things, like what's one final word that you want the listeners to know? Like if you could offer them one more piece of advice or wisdom, what would you share?
Hmm. There's so many things that racing in my mind, but I will have to say right now that everybody came out from pandemic, and now we survive. Now we survived the pandemic. So what will we do? Say from now on, keep building your resiliency. Keep building it. Keep loving yourself. Keep building your confidence, building that hope, the trust, and the faith and the love. So all those hope, love, and faith also help building your confidence, building your resilience. So it's go hand in hand. Everything go hand in hand. So um, keep building yourself up so that
Yes.
you don't be fearful about anything coming your way. Once you are confident, when you you know that God is on your side, there's nothing to stop you.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. So what I know you had talked about your book, and for those listening to Sara M, it's SARAIM.com/book is how you can get access to Sara's book, How I Survived the Killing Fields. What other services do you provide, Sara, that you haven't already talked about?
Um, I do some coaching
Mhm.
for people who really need my coaching to help you overcome whatever that drag you down. You need to overcome that. You need to build yourself up so that you can move forward. If you don't let go of the baggage, we all have the baggage. This man, the trash truck never dumped that luggage away. Imagine where the we cannot get rid of the baggage. The baggage has to get rid of somewhere somehow. So if you feel that you cannot unload your burden and you need to get out of that to clear yourself, to build yourself up for success, reach out to me. That's one of the service that I don't promote a lot, but in the special case, I will work with people.
Excellent. And so thank you so much for providing those services. And thank you so much for being with us today, Sara. This has been amazing and inspiring listening to your story. And thank you for being vulnerable with us and transparent enough to be able to share a hard time in your life, but also how you've overcome it. To be an overcomer is a blessing, because it ultimately, what I think it does is it shines a great deal of light into the world. Because one thing I just spoke with somebody, I think it was yesterday, about this, how the darker it is, the more light stands out. If it's bright as day outside and you turn on a light, you might not even notice it's there. But when it gets dark and you flip on even the smallest little light, it shines bright and it expands far beyond just that one spot that the light is. And so you are a light in the world, Sara. So thank you for having the courage to step into that and shine that light into the world.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, there's a quote that I remember somebody said that you must go through the darkness in order to find the light.
Yes,
It's so true. You
it
know,
is true.
yeah, every time we have the storm coming, it's dark, it's depressing, but when the storm is over, we will see the sunshine. So don't forget that every time the storm coming through, it's going to pass. But
Yes,
yeah, and we have to learn from the dark time.
yes,
Because if you keep letting it pass and pass and pass and not learn from it, it's not going to do good for us. We have to learn from the dark time.
yes. And it makes me think too, that I sometimes think in song, right? So there's a song that says, it may look like we're surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you, referring to God. And it's true, the storms, or there's another one called In the Eye of the Storm, because
Yeah.
God is truly always with us, even in the storms of life. So
Yes.
thank you for being a reminder.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Well, this concludes this episode. Thank you all for being with us, for listening or watching, depending on whether or not you're on YouTube or just listening to the podcast. We will see you next time for another episode of No Purpose Without Love. Thank you, Sara.